Hi guys, it's Kirsty here, and thanks for tuning in to my channel Crypto Flamingo. So today I am going to talk to you a little bit about a company called DFinity, and I'm going to try and do a little bit of a strategic analysis on them in the usual format. Now, before I do this, I'm just going to give you a heads up and apologise for anything that I get wrong or anything I've misinterpreted or such like. To be honest with you, I found this one of the hardest ones that I've done so far. The main reason being, I'm not a technical person, as I've made clear many times, and a lot of the documentation applicable to this company is like heavy technical. So I've tried to interpret it as best I can and pull out some information, but there is a chance that some of it's going to be wrong. So DFinity or, tech savvy people, please don't rip me too hard, just be nice. Okay, so right, without further ado, here we go, DFinity. So DFinity was founded in 2014 and is headquartered in Switzerland. They also have two branches, one in Germany and one in California. So currently, according to Craft.co, they have 71 employees, but they're also trying to expand to increase the amount of resources that they have in their business. In terms of funding history, they have so far accumulated 163 million worth of funding. Now, I got this from Euler.com, so the value may have changed since then. But of that, you can see there's two core investors. One is Horowitz, who has 102 million invested in equity, and Polychain, who has 61 million in equity. Now, there's also the ICO to consider in regards to further holdings and funding and stuff. But yeah, the fact that there's two main investors is quite an important fact to think about. So what is DFinity? DFinity is being sold as a decentralized internet and a NASA for decentralization. So what they're trying to do is they are trying to create an Ethereum 2.0, if you will. So it's going to have the same sort of application that it's decentralized. It enables not smart contracts as such, but the install and storage of software, etc. So what they've done is they've recognized that with Ethereum, there's a scalability issue. The core example which demonstrates this in recent times was the CryptoKitties project. So obviously when that came into fruition with these non-fungible tokens, the system just went mental because it just couldn't cope. So they've recognized this problem and they're trying to create something different. So what they're doing is they are connecting lots of computers, a bit like an IPFS model, but rather than utilizing the storage capacity of individual users, they're actually renting server use from large-scale providers. And then they're going to use that for people to install software on. They'll be able to log in and use the information. So basically the core customer is going to be businesses. So instead of going to Microsoft or Adobe or whoever and getting their software stuff, you can log into DFinity and utilize all of the information, all of the software packages on their portal. Now, that's what I think it is. If I've got it wrong, I'm sorry, please correct me, but that's what I think it is. So there's 3 releases. There's the copper release, the zinc release, and the tungsten release. Nice little metal material connotation there, way up my street. Governance-wise, there's 2 sides to this. There's proof of stake, wherein people who hold the tokens, the DFinity tokens, will get the ability to vote on stuff. Now, understand that, that's fine, that makes sense. But they've also got this bit which is done by AI. So there's going to be AI involved, which is going to make decisions on behalf of people. And that's built into this blockchain nervous system. It looks like the AI is going to track usage of people. I'm not sure how they're going to get that data, if it's through the DFinity portal or if they're going to be buying this information. But AI is basically going to cleverly decide what should be implemented into the project in order to make it run more efficiently or better. Now, it looks like currently there's 2 chains. There's going to be a private chain and a public chain. And it looks like the private chain can be thought of as a pilot or demo area where the AI can come up with an idea, implement it, see if it works. If it's all okay, if it runs smooth, it goes through, testing, etc., then they'll implement it into the public chain. So as we've already discussed, DFinity uses large servers around the world for distributed storage. They've got the proof of stake governance. They've got AI, which will control protocol changes through the private network and then into the public network. And they're targeting people who create software, create dApps, anything that needs to be in a public domain and requires storage. So to do this storage, they're going to have to use the DFinity utility token. So it's being used as a means of payment, if you like, to install the software, run the software, store the data. It does the proof of stake for the governance, and apparently there's going to be mining capabilities as well. So in August 2018, they raised 195 million. This information comes from ICO Bench. So in terms of funding, they've got the 195 million, which was tracked on ICO Bench in August 2018. But I'm not sure how that value is made up. So we discussed earlier, there was monies from Horowitz, which was 102 million. Is that inclusive of the 195 million or exclusive? So the point is, there's a lot of money being thrown at this company. So there's a lot of people that are interested. So that would imply that potentially the project has merit if it's got so much credibility, it's got so many high-profile investors, including Blockchain Capital, KR1, like massive companies are interested in this product. But I wonder, are they interested in the product because it's super duper, or is it like a half and half thing? So there's a lot of competition in this space, which we'll get onto just shortly. In that, are they investing in this because they think it's going to be the winner, or because it's diversification of investment? So there's two different tokens that they discuss through their information. One is the DFinity, and the other one is the Phi. I'm not entirely sure where the Phi fits into it. I know the DFinity obviously relates to the name of the project, and we've already said it's going to be used for the software, blah, blah, blah. But there's this other one here, and I'm just a little bit unsure of why there's two. So the target market, there are large-scale server owners who will be used for storage of the data and the performance of the platform. Then there's the people who build the dApps or the software, and they're going to actually utilize the platform. And then there's large investors who will fund and try and get a return on investment. And then there's IT departments in businesses who will be using this as a sort of one-stop software shop, if you like, where they can try and make their operations and their business both more efficient and perhaps reduce costs. In terms of marketing, they actually seem to be pretty good, in my opinion, in comparison to a lot of the other companies I've looked at. So all their documentation and their promotional or information-based videos are in English, which is fantastic for me because it means I can read it. Might not understand it, but I can read it. They also have quite a varied geographic location of sites. As I've discussed, they're in Switzerland, they're in California, they're in Germany, but also in terms of the conferences that they attend. So the conferences appear to be like all over the place between Southeast Asia, Australia, Europe, Eastern Europe, America. So it's quite an interesting diversification of presence where they're trying to actually grow their brand. They also have a very good presence on social media platforms. So they use Telegram, they use Reddit, they use Twitter, they use Rocket Chat, whatever that is. They have a YouTube channel, and then they also submit newsletters. So they're on the ball in terms of marketing, which I think is extremely important because they're coming from such a competitive product sector, because there's quite a few people trying to achieve something similar, that if they can make sure their brand has awareness, has credibility, has connotations of being associated with, reliability or knowledgeable folk or any of these things, just good stuff generally, then it gives them the upper hand compared to some of the competition who perhaps may have a superior product but are less known to the general public and to investors. So growth, I'm not entirely sure what their growth strategy is, just because they don't have any clear look on what their marketing strategy is. That's being held probably quite internal because they are quite private at this stage, out with what they've released on social media, etc. So yeah, I'm sure they probably do have a growth strategy, but they haven't implemented or said what that is. Operational wise, so we have a diagram here of the resources that they have. Basically, they're putting off that all their staff are very well educated and that they're more likely then to potentially be credible in terms of the product quality that they come out with at the end. Something I found quite interesting was they have been discussing in the last few months that they're going to be offering scholarships, which I think is a really neat idea actually. So they're going to be offering 3, and admissions will be accepted until the 1st of May 2019, with the winners announced on the 1st of July 2019. And there's a whole list of topics that these people can come from, 10 different ones. But I think that's a really neat idea because they're then trying to get involved with the next generation of engineers, etc. So like I love STEM stuff, and this totally connects. And they're also like just trying to benefit people. So they're reinvesting into, people that could help them grow their business. So it gives them good awareness to another sector, as well as just being good human beings. So in terms of their day-to-day operations, they will be creating the platform, and then they'll be maintaining it. They'll have the software and app creation is outsourced to external entities, but they might help with tweaking it. So maybe there'll be somebody on call as a technical response who can advise people of little bits and pieces as and when they need them. Blatantly, there's going to be an accounts department, a marketing department, and an engineering department. And then there'll probably be a procurement and sales side. So like as they're trying to procure more large-scale servers to help the platform run, they'll have to have people who can negotiate these, who can maintain these, who can ensure that the stuff is being backed up on a regular basis, so that if, for example, somebody's hacked or a service comes down, the company's still going to survive. The product isn't going to have any implications to people who are signed up and using it. So this is an important one, and I know it's super busy, but it's super important. So competition. Now, the slide, all the crazy information on the right-hand side, that comes from craft.co, so that isn't from me. And to be honest, I haven't heard of most of those companies. I've heard of PumaPay in passing, but I don't really know what it is. But yeah, I don't know any of them. But the ones on the left-hand side they're my contributions. So we've already said it's like Ethereum. They've recognized the Ethereum faults. They're trying to improve the system, and they've actually built it in such a way that if you build something on the Ethereum system currently, you should be able to import it very easily over to the new platform. Now, the two I've also listed are EOS and MadeSafe. So EOS have a lot of backing from high-profile investors. There's a lot of really interesting people involved in that project. And again, it's a decentralized internet. And the other one is MadeSafe. Now, MadeSafe, in my opinion, are absolutely fantastic, and they don't get enough shout-outs to say how cool they actually are. And they're Scottish, which gets them bonus points from me. But so they also are doing a decentralized internet. But the point I'm trying to put across is what DFinity are trying to do is not unique. It's very, very popular as a concept, and there's lots of people trying to achieve it. But as yet, nobody has won first place. Nobody's been recognized as the true winner. So again, this comes to my point of all these people that are investing in DFinity, are they doing it because they actually genuinely believe DFinity will be the winner? Or are they doing it because they've already invested in EOS and MadeSafe and they just want to diversify their assets? So we'll wait and see what happens. It's definitely a really interesting avenue to find out who's going to win this race. So next, the commercial and sales. So they make money by ICO, by VC investors, by token sales for people who are uploading the software via the utility token. And they'll also have private cloud service usage fee. So for people who actually upload software, they might have to pay a higher fee or an ongoing cost or registration cost. I don't know. It isn't listed, but I would assume that might be something that they implement as an additional means of getting revenue. So outgoing costs, they've got the large-scale server rental for the cloud service. They've got employee salaries. They've got the domain and hosting services for the web stuff, marketing operations, advertising, conferences. I think that's going to be a really large portion of their outgoing costs, as well as the AI data. Now, I said already, I don't know how this works. Are they buying that data from somebody else, or do they have a system which tracks, logs, utilizes information? I'm not sure. Project positives and negatives. So we'll start with the positives. I think they have some really good resources involved in their platform. We've already seen that they're highly educated people. Their marketing is fantastic. Everything's in English, which is super easy for me. They do social media, they do vlogs, they support students and graduates. And the fact that they have all this technical information available, even though I don't understand it, I respect the fact that it's there, because they must obviously have trust in their engineers to put this information out and enable people who actually are tech savvy to critique it or review it or whatever. So that's good. That's all really good stuff. The negatives, however, so if they are genuinely utilizing large scale worldwide servers, like distributed across, to try and gain the ability for the product to run, does that imply centralization in terms of if they're going to have like a big place over in California or a big place over here or a big Google thing or a big Microsoft thing or whatever? I don't know how this works. But does that create like these people who are actually going to be ruling the performance of the company, like indirectly? So they're actually, rather than, as I said with MadeSafe, having the IPFS model through general users, if they have large scale people, that might be tricky. It just might, something dodgy, I would watch it. Also, the proof of stake thing being part of governance. We already know that there's 2 large profile equity holders involved. Does that mean that this proof of stake governance is actually centralized as well? Because they're going to hold the largest amount of tokens and therefore may be able to dictate their own preferences. Again, when I said before, there's AI that actually makes these decisions. I don't know how that relates to the proof of stake of holding tokens. It's a bit of a mismatch. But again, it was something that came up to my mind, and I'd be happy if DFinity could clarify these for me. And again, why is there 2 tokens? So overall thoughts, there's a highly competitive sector and product type, as I've discussed. And so progress is going to be imperative. Marketing is going to be imperative. They need to make sure that they stay ahead of the competition, or at least on par. Also, the fact that there's lots of investment from high-profile sources. Again, is it genuine belief or is it diversification of investment? Also, the AI is going to be crowd-trained. So who's the crowd? Is it the people that use DFinity? Is it external sources? Do they gather the data? Does someone else? How is it used? How we need to ensure it's collected morally? There's just a lot of stuff in terms of AI that gets muddy water because it's quite a new and misunderstood platform. And also just the private and public thing. Am I correct? Is it that the private network is the test demo launch area and then the public is where it comes into reality? I'm not sure. So the solution, I think it's a really interesting product. There's obviously a lot of people doing it, so it's got to have merit. My only drawback is in terms of the centralized large-scale servers. If I've interpreted it correctly, and that's going to be the primary source of them obtaining space, power, etc., I just think that's a wee bit, I don't know. We'll see how it pans out. But generally, solution's got merit. Could be all right. I can't assess it properly because I'm not technical, but generally it looks good. So the target market is IT departments in businesses. So the actual type of customer is very clear. It's going to be people in businesses that make decisions on how they buy software, etc. And then the IT department to verify that it's going to facilitate their needs. But in terms of where are these people, what age are these people, etc., that stuff's unclear. We know that they're present in a few countries. They're doing conferences in a very diverse array of places. So it could be anywhere. So generally, I think a target market's an orange because it's getting there. It's pretty clear, but it's just not perfect in terms of where is it specifically. It's going to be English speaking, I assume, based on the fact all the documentation is English. But again, there's a little bit of work to do there. The marketing, so marketing is very good actually. Lots of conferences, lots of vlogs, lots of social media. I think it's okay. I think it's not bad. Growth, I have no idea on that one, so we'll skip it. So operations, based on the fact that their marketing seems to provide progress updates and such like, I'm assuming that they are pretty savvy on what they're doing. They have a roadmap of activities that appear to be being followed. I think they seem to be okay. They seem to be all right. The sales and commercial, so it's running like any standard business, realistically. They're renting server space, they're getting people signed up, they're going to install stuff, and then they'll have outgoing stuff like the domains, the license fees, the salaries, general stuff. So there's nothing in there that would make me think that as a business, it doesn't have any ongoing revenues to make the business sustainable. I think it looks okay. So generally, yeah, I think it's an interesting product. As I said, the documentation is highly technical, so there may be glaring technical errors that I can't assess, or I may have completely misinterpreted what it is they're doing and fed you a whole load of rubbish. But yeah, I think it sounds interesting. For me, I'm really interested in some of the other projects that are trying to achieve a similar product. So it's nice to get a bit more information on what this company is actually doing. And I think that this space is going to be very worth watching to see who ultimately comes out on top. Because there's a lot of people competing, as we've seen, and they're all going a slightly different angle. So it'll be good to see what happens here. So yeah, that's my analysis of DFinity. Thank you for listening. Hope it's been okay. Sorry if it's totally wrong. Please leave me a comment and let me know if I've been incorrect anywhere, or correct me, or any feedback at all. And if you like this style of content, as always, subscribe to my channel. Thanks very much, guys. Speak to you later. Bye.